Now I want to turn to ABC News contributor and former Deputy Secretary of Defense for the Middle East, Mick Mulroy. Mick, thank you for joining us. From what we know so far, how significant are these strikes on the Houthi operations in Yemen?
Lindsay, first of all, this is a long time coming and needed to happen. There's only so long the United States should be out there deflecting attacks, not only against commercial shipping, but against our own naval assets. So this needed to happen. To your question, from initial reports, it looks like they not only went after the sites where they launched these Iranian-supplied weapons, they went after multiple, if not dozens, of storage facilities, which is exactly what we needed to do. We needed to degrade their ability to attack these ships, our ships, and these commercial ships, because of all the reasons that Selena already pointed out, particularly how this does affect global economies around the world and the world's energy supply. So the United States formed a coalition around 20 countries called Prosperity Guardian to do just this, but when it came down to it, it was the U.S. and U.K. that used our substantial naval power to essentially degrade the Houthis' abilities to continue these operations. There's undoubtedly they will, but at least this will make it more difficult.
And Mary talked about the Houthis' likely response, but how would we expect their backers like Iran to react?
So Iran likely, I think, will continue pushing their proxies, which isn't just the Houthis, it's also Hezbollah, which has a substantial and probably the most significant of the proxies up in Lebanon, and Hamas, and the militias that constantly attack our bases, our facilities where our servicemen and women are in Syria and Iraq. So I expect to see these attacks continue, and I also expect to see the United States fighting back, and that's something that we have an absolute obligation to do. Our servicemen and women, including in the Red Sea, have a right to self-defense, and part of self-defense is a good offense. And I think this is something the United States has decided has to happen. We've done everything we can to deter this, but it obviously did not work, and the choice was up to Iran. So I do think Iran will likely amp up, through its proxies, of course, this clash between the United States and these significant groups, including terrorist organizations.
Essentially, since October, we've been talking about this concern that Israel's war in Gaza could spread beyond those borders. Do you see this as a possible triggering event?
I do. I see this as one and potentially many triggering events. The most significant concern is, of course, that the northern front is opened here in Israel, up on the border of Lebanon. Hezbollah has been in violation of UN resolutions. They're on the border. They pushed 80,000 displaced, I should say, 80,000 Israelis. It's clear from all the discussions I've had, from the top to the bottom, of the idea that they believe that war in Lebanon is inevitable. Essentially, they just have to refit and train their troops to be able to do that. That's something the United States doesn't want to happen. We don't want to see a regional conflict, but unfortunately, we're not the only ones making decisions in that space. I believe Iran is pushing Hezbollah to do that. I don't know if Hezbollah wants to have a war with Israel, but unfortunately, if they do not push themselves back or withdraw back beyond the UN designated line, that looks like it could happen.
Just for the average American who's sitting at home watching this, how concerned should we be?
Well, Lindsay, we should be concerned. The Middle East is, obviously, we have key partners, including Israel out here, but also many of the countries out here, and they're all at risk. And it's not just a risk to themselves, which is important, but it's a risk to the international economy. So much of the world's commerce travels through these waters. So much of the world's energy supply comes from this region, up to 40%. It can have a massive effect on international economies, trade, and things that matters to all nations. So this is not just especially the conflict we're seeing play out tonight in Yemen, the Red Sea, the key straits like the Bab el-Mandeb and the Strait of Hormuz. This isn't just a U.S.-Iran issue. This is a global issue, and all countries should be concerned about this and push to be involved in the solution, which means the Houthis need to stop attacking commercial vessels.
Mick Mulroy, thank you so much for your insight and time. Thank you.